Agreements were reached during the strategic arms limitation talks of the mid-1970s. These included the removal of the refueling probes from the backfire Bs. But aviation authorities believed they could be replaced, as well as added to the Tu-160 Blackjacks. Since its entry into service, the Midas has been exported to several countries, including Algeria, the Czech and Slovak republics, India, Iraq and Poland. The IL-76 has undergone constant improvement. The multiple fuel line system has been upgraded and is now used to refuel the new generation of Russian fighters. Using the new system, up to 3 aircraft can be handled at one time, greatly increasing the loiter time of Russian air defense interceptors. The Midas is a very effective companion to the Sukhoi Su-27 and MiG-29 air superiority fighters. The airborne AWACS type early warning was one of many Ilyushin 1176 configurations. The entire project was managed by Beriev Design Bureau, which fitted the rotodome and electronics package in partnership with NPO Vega. Beriev also designed the little BE-32, a light multi-role transport. It carried 18 passengers, or almost 2 tons of cargo. This sturdy and powerful aircraft set a world climb record in 1976. It was a follow-on to the BE-30, which saw frequent use as an Aeroflot puddle jumper. The BE-32 found new life when teamed up with Pratt & Whitney Klimov engines. The updated aircraft has greater power, allowing it to be used from rough airstrips and in special roles. Beriev is well known for designing aircraft, but not just those that fly from land. This is the BE-42, known simply in Russia as the Albatross. It's the fastest, most sophisticated flying boat ever built. Dr. Georgy Beriev established his own design bureau in 1932 at Taganrog on the Black Sea. He would enjoy a straightforward career as one of the legendary figures in flying boat construction. His first and most important design was the robust and efficient MBR-2, one of the few models of flying boats to achieve a 4-figure production total. A freighter version of the aircraft was in service for 30 years. By the 1950s, Beriev was designing larger flying boats. This is the BE-6, similar in appearance to the flying boats of the West. It had powerful radial engines and large bow, with an extended nose, roomy enough to allow for a complete relief crew. It saw service delivery in 1950. It was used in naval, paramilitary and utility transport duties. It could deliver 40 fully equipped commandos, and also served in the anti-submarine role. The first Russian jet-powered flying boat was the R-1 prototype. It was powered by 2 RD-45 turbojets mounted on the gull-shaped wings, retained from the BE-6. The R-1 prototype was impressive, but it never saw active service. It paved the way for Beriev's BE-10. The BE-10 was designed to be a fast, long-range flying boat, giving the Soviet Navy the flexibility only seaplanes can give. Little was known about this impressive twin-jet aircraft in the West. The only aircraft of its class to go into production, the BE-10 displayed good seaworthiness and handling characteristics. It was powerful, having double the BE-6's speed and altitude and 3 times its rate of climb. Beryev's jet flying boat was a record breaker. In 1961, it set 4 speed and weight to altitude records, more than any seaplane at the time. For reasons of secrecy, the US Navy did not allow its famed Seamaster to claim record flights. Although never produced in great numbers, the BE-10 was quite an achievement for Georgy Beryev and his colleagues. They noted, however, that jet engines and salt water didn't mix well. Their next effort, the BE-12 turboprop, would prove to be an outstanding maritime patrol and transport aircraft. The aircraft was also used to put out fires and in search and rescue roles. The hearty amphibian still flies today at shows like Gelendzhik and the Black Sea, an area so beautiful it's referred to as the Russian Riviera. For this vintage BE-12, maritime reconnaissance is still a main role, together with passenger and cargo transport operations. It's also used as a water bomber to help put out forest fires. In spite of the BE-12's success, the dream of a jet-powered flying boat never died in the 1980s. Beryev came up with a completely new A-40 design to replace the BE-12. The new aircraft soon appeared on American satellite photographs, while it completed rough sea tests. It featured a narrow oval fuselage topped with a long wing for increased range efficiency. An improved hull design allows for easier unsticking during takeoffs. The A-40 was powered by 2 powerful D-30 turbofans and 2 auxiliary R-60K jet engines. By 1988, the aircraft was ready to go. Its future looked promising. There were good reasons to bring back the A-40 jet. A potential role was to quickly rescue submarine crews in trouble. A flying boat offers a good rescue platform for stricken vessels like the Russian sub that was stranded off Scotland in the North Sea. Models of an A-40 Sea Air Rescue version, the BE-42, have been displayed to show off its capabilities as a flying hospital. This version comes complete with medical, surgical and anti-hypothermia facilities for up to 54 victims. The A-40 always impresses airshow crowds, like the one at Gelendzhik, but it hasn't lived up to expectations. The designers at Beryev look to sell it to various countries as a civil transport. Meanwhile, at Sagi, engineers and researchers were already looking at the next step. By the early 1990s, hydrodynamic and open water channel tests were conducted to investigate new hull configurations. By the mid-90s, Beryev was showing off its greatest flying boat, the BE-200. Unlike the A-40, it was designed from the start for the civil transport market. The new amphibian can trace its ancestry directly to its forerunner, the A-40. Although smaller, the BE-200 is designed to carry 68 passengers and 8 tons of cargo. The designers claim their new flying boat will be very effective in its other roles. These would include cargo transport, environmental protection and air-sea rescue. The BE-200 is also claimed to be the world's most effective firefighting aircraft, capable of scooping up and delivering 360 tons of water or foam during a typical mission without refueling. In the 1970s, McDonnell Douglas flew the YC-15. The goal was to create a transport aircraft capable of short takeoff and landing. Its competition was the YC-14 built by Boeing. This aircraft has a strange engine design. The goal was the same, but Boeing engineers used a different approach. They located the engines high over the wings to blow air down over the flaps of this technology demonstrator. At the 1989 Paris Air Show, a similar aircraft was on display. It was the AN-74, the Russian answer to the YC-14. Built by the Antonov Design Bureau to achieve the same goals, it was designed as a multi-role transport based on the earlier AN-72 short takeoff and landing airplane. Codenamed Kohler by NATO, the AN-72 was the Antonov Bureau's first jet aircraft. It was intended to replace earlier turboprop transports. The jet engines were mounted high to prevent foreign object damage to the engine intakes, a significant danger when operating from rough airstrips covered with ice and snow. The position of the jet engines takes advantage of upper surface blowing technology known as USB. Exhaust traveling over the wings helps create added lift during short takeoff conditions. In 1968, the Lockheed C-5A Galaxy took the title of the world's largest aircraft from the Antonov Antheus. The Galaxy's wingspan was 73 meters. Its maximum takeoff weight of almost 350,000 kilos was greater than the giant Russian AN-22. The C-5A was also much faster and had greater range. It was the undisputed world's heavy lift transport. At the 1985 Paris Air Show, the Russian answer to the C-5A descended. It was so huge that it seemed to fill the sky. The giant lumbered down the runway in front of the startled onlookers. It was a third larger than the monster Lockheed Galaxy. Its wingspan is 80 meters. Its maximum takeoff weight exceeds the Galaxy by 45,000 kilos. But its range, carrying a maximum payload, is shorter. When the performance of the AN-22 Antheus was found lacking by Soviet authorities, its production run was prematurely stopped. Oleg Antonov was personally commissioned to produce a successor even larger than the Lockheed Galaxy. The jet engine builder Lotarev was assigned the task of producing the D-18T, the Soviet Union's first large turbofan. The new airlifter was designed by the Antonov Design Bureau using their experience from the Antheus and also from what they learned from the American C-5A program. It was designated the AN-124 and named the Ruslan after the immortal hero of Pushkin's writings. When the Ruslan took to the air on its first flight in 1982, it assumed the mantle of the world's largest aircraft. In all respects, the result was a masterpiece. The fact that the Soviet aircraft industry was able to produce an aircraft of such great size that was more than just a showpiece came as a shock to some Western observers. At the time, Western authorities were uncertain as to how advanced large jet engine manufacturing had become in the Soviet Union. They weren't sure whether Russian turbofan engine technology was comparable to that of the West in power and fuel economy. The huge Ruslan answered any doubts. Each of its giant Lotarev turbofans generated more than 50,000 pounds of thrust. The robust D-18T engines made the transport, codenamed Condor by NATO, a very impressive performer. On the 26th of July 1985, an AN-124 set 21 official records. It carried a payload of 171,000 kilos to an altitude of 11,000 meters. This was 50% greater than the records previously set by the Galaxy. Soviet designers were very touchy about the code names assigned to their aircraft by NATO. Sometimes unflattering names were chosen that underscored the bitter rivalry in East-West relations. But NATO paid homage to the remarkable AN-124 Ruslan and its designers. They named it the Condor, after the world's largest flying bird. In the mid-1990s, this AN-124 arrived in Hamburg on a special transport mission. It was leased to carry a vintage 50-year-old Junkers Ju-52 to America for a 10-month tour. The goodwill event was sponsored by the German national airline Lufthansa. The Junkers Ju-52 was taken apart and packed into large shipping container prior to loading into the Condor's massive cargo hold. The hold is cavernous, 40 meters by 7. A huge titanium floor covers the entire area. This is necessary to support the immense loads the Ruslan is designed to carry. Extensive use of composite materials in the structure of the hold allows great strength without the weight of metal. The Condor has 2 large access points. One is located at the nose and the other under the rear of the fuselage, features a combination door and ramp.